Michael Ford passed away on Saturday, January 27th. He was 62 years old. Michael had a significant presence within the electronics manufacturing community, with his deep, insightful knowledge of the many challenges with digital transformation and his ability to explain complex issues in language that made it easy to comprehend.
That's what I loved when working with him. Sometimes a team ends up in a situation with, let's say, different opinions, maybe conflicting, and then Michael was the one with a clear vision, finding the commonalities, also finding where things complement each other, and then finding the way how to resolve the issue and come to an agreement that I think everyone finally was able to carry on with.
I've often thought that the Japanese culture of collaboration and so forth, definitely he took that with him from his time in Japan, because of all the people I've dealt with in our 27-year corporate history, I can honestly say I've never seen anyone with Michael's skill in being in a committee meeting or an industry discussion where there's a lot of strong opinions and perhaps heated, or even inside the company with colleagues when people are expressing opinions. He had an amazing ability to keep those discussions going, no matter how heated or whatever was said, in a positive way where it diffused things and it kept it such that people were heard. No, everyone always felt they were heard, and yet it moved forward. And I thought of all his gifts, I've really never seen anyone able to do that consistently the way that he did.
Typically, he was the smartest person in the room, but he never made you feel like he was the smartest person in the room. He never made you feel anything less.
His contributions to standards committees, columns, articles, panel discussions, and many presentations at conferences around the world will leave an indelible mark upon the industry for many years to come. Michael was widely credited as one of the key driving forces behind the development and adoption of the CFX standard by the industry. But he was also actively involved in anti-counterfeit, supply chain standards, and more recently in digital twin and AI.
It is not only CFX, it's this picture of standards all around SMT manufacturing. So starting with CFX, but traceability, digital twin, IPC 2581, critical components, security. It's the entire picture and covering, I would say, almost all the processes that are relevant for SMT. And I think that is, from my point of view, what he did for the industry, that he put all of that together into one big picture, and not just the picture of standalone pieces, but all these pieces linked together and making sense together.
What are Michael's main achievements with IPC? They're numerous. If you look at the portfolio of standards that we have right now for Factory of the Future, ranging from digital twin, traceability, we have the cybersecurity mitigation threat standard, CFX, you can see the logo behind me. If you read the words in those standards, and if you knew Michael, it's his voice. His voice and his thumbprint is going to be on these standards for decades to come.
One of the most memorable moments that acted as a precursor to CFX was the panel discussion at Apex when Michael was working for Mentor Graphics and surprised everyone when he suddenly produced the OML black box.
So what I see as being the key thing for the future, and actually, if you bear with me, I actually have it.
We're going to get a product here.
I have it in the box. So, here, you saw it here first. This is a box that I can take from here. I can put it next to any machine in this building. I plug in the power, I plug in the connector, and I can get the open manufacturing language data straight out of that machine and straight into any existing MES or ERP system.
That's so funny you bring that up. Yes, Michael and I used to speak about that. Yeah, it was a complete surprise, and Michael he did a good job, as he always did, except that at that moment he was doing it for another company. But yes, it was a surprise, and we laughed about that for years afterwards, actually.
Yeah.
And actually, and ironically, that sort of led to CFX.
Michael did have a very quiet demeanour, but he did have one tell, described by his former boss at Sony Technology Centre in the UK. Mike was in the early days a quiet person. It was mostly a little cheeky grin he used to give when he was particularly right about something, which, to be honest, he was most of the time. He was such an innovative, groundbreaking, brilliantly clever engineer who thought through everything. He knew all the answers. He was so smart.
I have been the recipient of that smile several times, so I know exactly which one it is.
Joel Scutchfield, General Manager of Co-Young Americas, recalls working with Michael during his days with Sony.
In true Michael fashion, that motto that I try to follow, speak softly, carry a big stick, and the old Teddy Roosevelt saying, and he was very much that, very mild demeanor, but he could back it up, and if he needed to, crank up a few more cylinders, he could do that, and then watch out, right? Yeah. I'll always remember, Michael showing up at that time. I think he had one suit. It was a navy blue suit. I think he had one tie and a box full of white dress shirts, and it was always the blue suit, the white shirt, the black shoes they weren't really dress shoes. They weren't really cross trainers. They were kind of in between at that time. It was really before the Skechers fad, but he had something figured out. And the white socks just capped it off, right? And I never said a word to him about it. I never kidded him about it. I never acted like it was anything but normal.
To many, Michael Ford was regarded as a mentor, a visionary, a colleague and a friend. The legacy he leaves behind and the debt of gratitude we all owe him is enormous.
Well, it's so vast. Whenever anyone would see Michael on video in your interviews when he was at his home, the whole wall behind him was IPC, world awards and the standards that he worked on. It's enormous. I think the design through supply chain counterfeit and CFX, I think he would probably consider those the things that he was most proud of, in particular CFX, no doubt. Yeah. But I think that, again, it gets back to that belief that he truly loved collaborating with people, and he really did love the work he did with the IPC and the support that they provide the industry. He just believed in it, absolutely. Yes. But I think that we'll be benefiting from his work, frankly, forever down the timeline, because he was on the more digital, forward-leaning work that's going to be the foundation of everything going forward with, frankly, AI, and as you said, the counterfeit issues and cyber that people are grappling with. So he really will be standing on the benefits of his work for a long time.
For years, Michael carried us on his shoulders, and he marched us forward with his vision. And now it's our job to do that with his legacy.
There are things that we can have, but can't keep. If they say, who cares if one more light goes out in the sky of a million stars? It flickers. Who cares when someone's time runs out? If a moment is all we are, or quicker, who cares if one more light goes